Okay, today I'm going to show you how easy it is to make Italian bread from scratch. You only need a few simple ingredients. Flour, we're going to use about 3 to 3.5 cups. 1 package of rapid rise instant yeast. I like the Fleischman's brand. You can check out their website for more info on yeast breads too. Olive oil, 1 tablespoon. Salt, 1 teaspoon. Hot water, 120 to 130 degrees. 1 cup. You'll also need a bowl to mix your bread in, a bowl to let the dough rise in, of course your pan for baking, and you'll want a towel for covering the bread while it's rising. I like to start by greasing my bowl so that that's out of the way for when I'm done. I'm going to use a generous amount of grease in the bowl because we'll be turning the bread in there. We want a little bit to coat the top. So the bowl is greased. We can set that aside. And we can also, right now, while we've got a greasy rag, go ahead and grease the pan we're baking it in. You can bake this on a flat pan if you don't have a handy-dandy pan like this. Okay, we can move this out of our way, and we're going to start assembling. For assembly, we'll start with 1 cup of flour in our bowl. I have a 1/2 cup scoop here. You do want to stir your flour up a little bit so it's not packed down. I'm going to put 1 cup in the bowl. I'm going to add my package of yeast. I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. And we'll stir that all up. Actually, I think I want to... Now, you could use a mixer at this point, if you have one, or you can also do it by hand. So we're going to stir in our water and a tablespoon of olive oil. And we're just going to give that a good mix so it's all incorporated. Get those lumps out. And again, you can do this with a mixer, or you can use a little arm muscles. So we'll just mix this up here, and that's looking pretty good. So I can set my whisk aside. Now I'm going to add 2 cups of flour. Actually, we'll probably start with 1.5 cups and see how that looks. And then we can add that other last cup as we need it. So I'm just going to stir this up. You're going to want a firm dough. It shouldn't be sticky. It should be stiff enough to hold its shape, but you don't need it too hard. So we add flour as we go. I find that when I use the dough hook, I tend to end up needing a little more flour. Actually, that 1.5 cups was just about good. I'm probably going to need a little more when I knead it in, but at this point, we can move it over to my counter space. We will add some flour to the counter. And we're going to scrape our dough out onto that. And we're going to go ahead and give this a good kneading. Now when you knead the dough, you kind of do a fold and press. Oh, I can feel this is a little sticky, so I'm definitely going to work some more flour in here. It's trying to stick to my hand, so I'm going to grab another little more flour here. And just keep turning and folding. Go ahead and use those arm muscles. Press it. You don't need to treat it gently. It can take a little bit of work. As a matter of fact, when you work, you help stretch those gluten thingies out, and that's what gives the bread its structure. So just go ahead and keep kneading that. And we should have a smooth dough here in another moment. It should be soft. It should be able to hold its shape. You know, if it spreads out too much, you probably need a little more flour in there, because we want it to be able to hold its shape when you let it rise. So I'm just going to knead here another minute. kind of just do a right and forth, back and left, kind of a little bit of a half fold with each turn. Move it around. See how it feels. Is it holding its shape? So that looks like it's about ready to hold its shape. We're just going to give it another few more turns here. Get it nice and smooth. It gets a little sticky. You can add just a little more flour as needed. And when I'm done kneading, I'm actually going to leave this flour right here on the board, because when I come back and roll it out, I'll use that same thing, that same board. So this is feeling pretty good. And as you can see, it's not taking me very long to do this at all. I'm going to put this down in my bowl. I'm going to smush it a little bit, get some of that oil on the top, and I'm going to go ahead and flip it over. And we will take our clean towel we had, and we're going to cover it. And I will see you in about 20 minutes when we will punch it down and shape it out. And probably don't want to leave your towel hanging over the top of your gas stove. So we'll move that over here to rest for 20 minutes. See you shortly. Okay, the bread has risen. Our 20 minutes are done. We're going to punch it down. You can see how much it's risen. And we're going to divide it in half. You can use a knife and cut it in half, or you can simply pull it in 2 pieces. Now, if you have a fancy scale, you can measure it and make sure they're the same. You do want them similar. I kind of like to do this. I switch it from hand to hand because sometimes it feels a little different in one hand than the other. And if they feel about the same, we're good. So, now we're just going to take our dough, give it a quick knead, and roll it out some. And you can use anything. You can use a rolling iron, or a rolling pin rather, or you can simply take a glass and roll it with that. And we're just going to roll it a little bit here, reasonably square, doesn't quite matter. And then we're going to take this, and we're going to just roll that up, kind of tucking it under with each roll. Keep turning, and we're going to pinch these ends here nice and tight so they don't pop loose, and pinch all along that seam nice and tight. We're going to take this end, we turn it in, and we pinch, and then you take and you smush down where you just pinch that together. And we take that here, and we're going to set that right in here. And just smush him a little bit there, and he'll be set to rise. And then we're going to do the same thing with this piece. Roll them out. And then roll it up, tuck with your thumbs there and kind of just turn, get it nice and tight. And then we're going to turn those ends under and we pinch them nice and tight, and again we pinch that seam nice and tight. Pinch the bread together and turn this other end under and pinch him in, and then smush down that bottom. And we're going to set him here, and we're going to give that at least 35, maybe 45 minutes to rise, depends on how warm it is. If it's not rising, you can always place it in the oven with a little bit of boiling water. Pour the boiling water in some pan and close the oven up. You don't need to do anything else. The heat and steam from the water will give a nice humid temperature, like a proofing oven would, to make your bread rise. I'm just going to leave it on the stove top here. I'm going to take my towel I did before. Actually, since I've got the towel on it, I'm not going to leave it on the stove top. I'm going to set it over here on the counter, and I'll see you in about 45 minutes. Okay, I've preheated the oven to 400 degrees. It's been about 45 minutes. And you can see our bread has risen nicely. It's more than doubled here, I think. So all we're going to do is put that in the oven. Oops, just ignore that other pan in there. And we're going to let this bake for approximately 20 minutes at 400 degrees, and I'll see you back shortly. Okay, if you look, our bread is nicely brown. It's actually almost a little overdone. We're at 210. 200 is probably a better temperature, but I'm going to take it out and we'll be good to go. So we're taking our bread out. And you can probably just use a pot holder, whatever you want. But our bread is on the baking rack and done. 2 loaves Italian, ready to go.